Alright guys, welcome to the technical analysis video for Sunday the 8th of May 2022. As always, the contents of this video do not constitute investment nor financial advice, and any trading you do based on the contents of the video is done entirely at your own risk, and this YouTube channel, Aggregated Finance Technical Analysis, is not liable for any losses you may incur. Alright guys, so looking at the daily chart of Ethereum, Monday last week we called a low in the markets, and we did get a bounce a couple of days later. Let's look at the quickly look at the S&P 500. This was the low we called here, and we did get follow through a couple of days later. However, on Thursday things turned sour, and that has now followed through on to the cryptos. Now, in our previous videos, we have been referencing on the weekly chart. We have said we are in a medium-term bearish pattern, and it's unfortunate that we didn't get follow through in the equity markets, because that would have taken the cryptos somewhat higher. And now what's coming into play is this bearish pattern here, the fact that we're stuck below the 20 moving average. Now we seem to be at a bit of a support level here. It all depends what happens. If the equity markets continue lower, obviously then we will likely break this support here and go down to around somewhere between the 1800 to 2000 level. Now, the other case is if the S&P 500 holds this level, because we haven't made new lows, we've not broken the low of the 3rd of May last week, if we hold this level and go higher, then the crypto market, let's go back to it, looking at the daily chart, the crypto market will probably go sideways. We may get a bit of a bounce, and if we bounce up to this area here, wait for the oversold condition to unwind, and then that should present some opportunities to go short and profit from any drop in crypto. But in order for us to take advantage of that, the oversold condition has to be unwound, and we've got to get the 20 moving average nearer to price, either if we bounce or if we linger here for a few more days, that 20 moving average will come closer to price. Looking at the daily chart of Bitcoin, we've got exactly the same pattern here. We're into this support level. We're now looking at the daily chart. We're holding this support level here, and again, for us to be able to take advantage of any further move to the downside, we need to see price go sideways first. I wouldn't jump on board short here because we are already oversold. Looking at the weekly chart, very similar case here. We're already into this sort of area of major support, and just wait for price to give us a setup. If we do break these lows, the next support level on Bitcoin is around 31,000 level, and if things really do get nasty, we may be headed around to the 23 or 24,000 level, possibly even the 22,000 level at the weekly 200 moving average. However, price is unlikely to get there in one go, and it should give us some setups on the short side. We've got to wait and see what price does and wait for a setup there. Quickly going back to the S&P 500, I know this is a crypto trading a group, but at the end of the day, the S&P 500 does set the tone, and that's why it's important we keep our finger on the pulse and see what's going on. So while we've not broken the lows of the 2nd and 3rd of May, which is this candle here, there is a chance that we hold this level and that the S&P 500 starts going higher, in which case that would, for the moment, likely constrain cryptos from going lower at the moment, but it may give us a setup to the downside. We just have to wait for that oversold condition to unwind somewhat. Looking at the S&P 500 weekly chart, we got a doji bar. This candle closed on Friday, and sometimes that would indicate a change in trend coming. So don't be surprised if we hold this level. I know the news is dire out there with inflation. Don't be surprised if we hold this level and we start to head higher on the main equity markets, which would set the tone also for the cryptos. So just going back to the daily chart of Ethereum, it is unfortunate we didn't get follow through on this move upwards on a Wednesday, and things started to turn southwards. But again, hopefully we will get a setup, an opportunity to enter if things are going lower, which they could well be. Remember, just going back to the weekly chart, This is a bearish pattern here. We are stuck below the 20 moving average, and you know, we're approaching these pivot lows here. Ultimately, the longer term move, I believe, is to the downside again. We may get a bounce, we may go sideways first, but the bigger trend is certainly to the downside. And looking at this here, if we do break the pivot lows here at 2,500, we will be heading down towards the 1,900 level. Now, before I wrap up the video, I just want to say something in regards of Thursday's turnaround. You know, when you're trading, you've got to act responsibly. It's your own money on the line, or you may be managing the money of others. You've got to have stops in place that at any point, if something turns around or something just doesn't work out, or if it first starts to work out in your favor, and then it moves in you know, the right direction, you've got to have your stops in place, and you've got to constantly review where you want your stop to be. So as a trade starts to play out, at some point you've got to put your stops at break even, so that if something does happen, or there's some news item or something untoward happens, you protect yourself. That's very, very important, and when you trade, you've got to trade responsibly. Another thing to be aware of is sometimes when a trade goes against you, or the situation changes, you've got to be very nimble. You've got to be ready to pull the plug on it, and you've got to be ready to play the other way if that's what the chart is telling you to do. Alright guys, that wraps up the weekend video. I'll put another video out in the next couple of days. If I see anything that's noteworthy of a video, I will put it out and let you guys know.